Alright, welcome back to part 2 of the VRS startup checklist video, and again I'm representing usnva.org. We fly the VRS, so if you're interested in naval aviation, definitely come check us out and check out the website, because we'd love to take you through the hoops of learning the VRS and eventually combat when TACPAC comes out, hopefully sometime before Christmas. And let's get in the cockpit. Alright, so here we are in the last video. You remember that we had the generators on, and we made sure that the parking brake was on. So we'll go ahead and flip over to our engine start checklist. First thing, parking brake's fully set, and we're gonna turn the battery on. Make sure we have 28 volts, or not 28, not yet, but we have some volts and it's on in the red, so that's good. And we're not doing an external check, so we'll skip that. So first thing we want to do right off the bat is check our fire system. We're going to test A.
Engine fire, left, engine fire, left, lead air, left, lead air, left, engine fire, right, engine fire, right, lead air, right, lead air, right, APU fire, APU fire.
Okay, so you notice we got an audio cue and a visual cue. The reason we want to do this right off the bat is because if we're starting up the engines and we have an engine fire, we want to know that this system is working. So we also have a secondary backup system, and we don't have an audio cue, but we have a visual cue for that one. So if any type of fire happens, we know that this system is operational. We can shut down the engine immediately, or the APU if there is a fire that occurs. So with that done, we're going to come over here to the APU, which stands for Auxiliary Power Unit. We're going to verify that the light is in the off position, which it is, and then we're going to go ahead and turn it on. We're going to wait 30 seconds, and that's going to spool up. We're actually going to get an audio cue as it happens. So the APU is it's an auxiliary power unit, and in larger aircraft, it's a gas turbine engine that it literally runs on gas, and it's a miniature jet engine. What that does, it provides pneumatic power to spin up the engines, to start them up, and also provides electrical power for the systems. Can actuate the hydraulic systems. So it is a miniature jet engine. On a smaller aircraft like this is it's actually an electrical engine that's hydraulically powered. And what happens is when we turn the right engine on, it'll charge that actuator, or excuse me, that accumulator, and so that'll provide the necessary hydraulic pressure to push through this engine, turn it, and be able to provide electrical power. So that's ready to go, and we'll go ahead and make sure that our throttles are in the idle position, and that's achieved by pressing Control-Shift-D. And we'll go ahead and crank up the right engine. As soon as we do that, we'll check our RPM and our oil pressure, and that's coming up. So that's what we want to see there. Alright, so that's a good start on the right engine. And down here, this should be in the on position. I'm sorry, I had to cut this video in two, and the aircraft reset. But as soon as the engine starts up, we want to check to make sure we're getting 28 volts on the battery gauge there, and we'll turn the left DDI on, and we'll do an engine check here. First thing is RPM should be 61 RPM. That's great. Temperature should be between 250 and 500, which it is, and fuel flow is between 600 and 900. It's steady at 7, and the nozzles should be, the oil pressure should be between 35 and 90. Now the oil pressure is 184. I don't know why it's so high. It always does that. And then the nozzle, which is the position of the exhaust venting back there, is between 77 and 83%, and that nozzle indicator is right here. So it is within that range for the right engine. And the left engine, since it's idle, it's just kind of in the relaxed position at 88%. Just give me a sec while I flip the page. Alright, so we'll skip the external electrical power disconnect because we didn't start like that. Bleed air should now be in the normal position, and there's an LT test which I'm not exactly sure what that is, to be honest with you. And the engine crank, now we can crank up the left engine, and we'll hear that spin up. And again, we'll check for our RPM. Oil pressure immediately comes up. And the oil temperature. So again, it'll stabilize at 61 RPM. And we'll check our temps are in the normal range, our fuel flow's in the normal range, and our oil pressure is actually off. But okay. So as soon as that one comes up, we're going to turn the APU off, and you'll hear it wind down. And bleed air, again, should be on normal at this point. Okay. So that's pretty much it for the engine start. Just want to talk a little bit about a cross bleed start. And I've only gotten this to work about 1 or 2 times, so I'm not exactly sure if it's just an anomaly or if I'm doing something wrong. But following the checklist, instead of keeping the APU on for both the right and left engine crank, what you do is after you start up the right engine, you turn off the APU, and then you make sure the bleed air is in the normal position. You crank up the right engine to about 80% or 80% N2, which is found, if I can find it, I'm trying to look for it here. Here you go, N2 61. So that's this indicator right here. Okay, and you get that up to 80%, and then you hit the left engine crank, and it should start up. Excuse me, you don't hit the left engine crank, you just let that run and it should start up, but I've very seldom gotten that to work. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hopefully you can hear more coming from usnva.org. Again, check out our website, and we'd love to see you guys stop by. Thanks.